diesel fuel rebate.
I can only reiterate that we are in good faith looking at every single item that the budget contains and that are not going to engage in or encourage speculation.
We'll go overseas to examine the organic food business. In the UK, it promised to be a boom industry of the 90s, but consumer interest is waning and some now doubt if organic food will ever reach beyond the alternative market.
The problem is that with any young industry, there are disadvantages. Too few suppliers, the infrastructure to get the product to the market is complicated, and then it's further exacerbated in the case of organic farming by a subsidy system which continues to reward conventional farming at the expense of organic farming.
A look at the future for growers of organic food. John Anderson gives the government line on what's ahead for farmers and the instant availability of the latest weather information. That's our lineup on today's Landline. Hello and welcome to the program. The new government in Canberra has promised a lot for farmers, especially in the way of meetings and conferences to discuss key issues. The first of these, relating to wool, was held in Canberra and a number of decisions were reached. The overwhelming view was that consumer demand is the key factor in the future of wool. And I wonder if a conference was actually needed to come to this understanding. Let's all hope that these talk fests actually achieve something and don't end up as mere footnotes in the history of wool. But it's with another industry that's in trouble that we start our news summary. Beef producers were disturbed but not that surprised with an announcement signalling the closure of abattoirs in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. Australia Meat Holdings says the increased competition from American beef and a move to cut costs and improve efficiency prompted the decision to cease operations at Beaudesert, Guyra and Portland.
In this sort of situation, you reach a point under which you have to take some drastic decisions, and we've reached that point a short while ago and have taken the appropriate decision.
The cattle industry has generally welcomed the move to permanently close the plants and the injection of $50 million to upgrade the Dinmore abattoir in southeast Queensland. Federal government backbenchers have demanded further talks on native title following revelations Cabinet will not legislate for pastoral leases to extinguish native title.
After 2.5 years or 2 years of operation, they were promised that the grant of a valid pastoral lease extinguishes native title, but certainty hasn't been delivered, either by the courts, by legislation or by the tribunal.
While Aboriginal groups are threatening legal action if legislation to extinguish native title goes ahead, all eyes are on the Wick case, which goes before the High Court next month to consider the effect of pastoral leases on native title. Tenders have closed for Peter Sherwin's cattle empire, with the booming live cattle trade boosting interest from overseas companies. The 6 Northern Territory properties and 40,000 head of cattle are estimated to be worth around $40 million.
I don't think you'll walk away from the industry altogether, and we'll hear a bit about Peter Sherwin yet to come, but maybe not in the NT in the same way as it's been.
The horticultural industry is blaming junk food advertising for the poor eating habits of Australian children. A recent nutrition survey found 50% of all children eat no fruit at all.
But if the corporation is going to fight the junk food industry, we have to spend the sort of money that we are spending now and use the sort of advertising techniques that companies in the junk food industry are employing on youth today.
A bitter dispute between Northwest Tasmanian potato growers and Simplot Australia, formerly Edgels, looks set to continue, with the new processor refusing to abandon a price-cutting policy.
The companies keep saying, we've got to get prices down to be internationally competitive, but we're seeing now overseas, in America right now, there's a shortage of processed potatoes and other potatoes, and the price has increased.
Growers claim the company will have to pay more if it's to compete with other expanding crops like poppies, pyrethrum, peas and beans. Meanwhile, the export onion industry in that state is in trouble, with the coldest, wettest summer on record taking its toll, forcing growers to plough poor quality crops back in.
I think we've had the toughest year in the 30-year history of the Tasmanian onion industry this year.
The rising Australian dollar, a big European crop and higher exports from New Zealand have added to the problems. Downpours on South Australia's Eyre Peninsula have farmers' hopes up for a record cereal crop this year to make the most of good prices. Meanwhile, thousands of South Australians outside the metropolitan area will have filtered water within 3 years, with 10 new filtration plants to be built.
There's a lot of food processing, value-adding industries that we could have in country areas if only we had quality water.
The Ord River scheme looks set to become even bigger and more successful with the launch of a hydroelectric power station.
We've taken the turbulence out of the water, we've converted that to electricity. That electricity is being sent to the townships of Kununurra and Wyndham and the associated East Kimberley area and to the Argyle Diamond Mine.
The Ord River irrigation area of 15,000 hectares is expected to increase fivefold with the extra power. Gold fever has again gripped Charters Towers in northwest Queensland a century after the first big rush, with modern technology able to extract the fortune left behind by the first miners.
There's more gold that you can imagine. We have reason to believe that the old miners only took a third of the capacity of the field.
The return of the gold diggers has breathed new life into the struggling region. Our first item today is an extended interview with the Primary Industries Minister, John Anderson. Kerry Lonergan was joined in our Canberra studio by Julia Balderstone from Victoria's Weekly Times and the rural specialist from the Australian Financial Review, Kathy Bolt. Let's pick up this panel discussion as the Minister answers allegations about his government breaking promises despite being in power less than 3 months.
Well, I don't believe we'll be breaking the broad thrust of our important commitments. It is true, and nobody denies that it is the case, that we do face enormous funding difficulties, and there is a process going on to review all of the activities of government. I'm a member of the so-called Razor Gang, the ERC, and that constrains me from commenting or encouraging speculation about, for that matter, the various things that we might be looking at. But our commitments were given in good faith. They're clearly set out in terms of the direction that they take us, and we'll be seeking to honour those commitments to the greatest degree possible.
One of the issues, Mr Anderson, of greatest concern is the future of the diesel fuel rebate scheme. Can you give a hard and fast assurance now that that scheme will be retained?
I can only indicate to you that the government is looking at every single program that it engages in. Beyond that, I simply say to you that whilst I'm not going to comment on what we're talking about or speculate on them, that our policy commitments were set out, that my position is known, and that relates to the fact that I believe that we have to encourage agriculture to grow, to export more effectively, and that our policy objectives will be plainly designed to ensure that that happens.
As a member of the ERC, will you be using your power to lobby on behalf of farmers, though?
I'll be putting the rational arguments as we continue the debate, remembering that in each case it will be the obligation of all 6 members of the ERC to put the pros and cons of each proposal that's before us. So